My name is Alice, and I'm 69 years old. 3 months ago, I thought I'd lost everything that mattered to me. My own son had blocked my phone number, cut me off from my granddaughter, and was planning to steal the inheritance I'd spent a lifetime building. But what he didn't know was that this old woman had one final card to play, and when I played it, it destroyed his greedy little scheme so completely that he's still picking up the pieces. You see, my dear husband, Harold, passed away 6 months ago after 45 years of marriage, leaving me alone in our beautiful home in Millbrook, Connecticut. What my son Marcus didn't realize was just how much his father had trusted me with. Not just the house and savings, but a secret investment portfolio worth $2.3 million that I'd helped Harold build over the decades. Marcus thought he could manipulate a grieving widow. He was about to learn that grief doesn't make you weak. It makes you dangerous. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to know that this story gets more shocking with every twist. If you're enjoying stories about family betrayal and an elderly woman's revenge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. It really helps our channel grow. And if you have your own story about being underestimated because of your age, share it in the comments below. Trust me, after you hear what Marcus did next, you'll have plenty to say. Now, let me take you back to where it all began, at Harold's funeral. The funeral was beautiful, really. St. Mary's was packed with people who loved Harold, his golf buddies, our neighbors from Elm Street, colleagues from the insurance company where he'd worked for 30 years. I sat in the front pew wearing my navy dress, the one Harold always said brought out my silver hair, holding my granddaughter Emma's hand. She's only 16. But she'd been my rock through Harold's illness. Marcus sat beside us in his expensive black suit, playing the devoted son perfectly. He kept patting my shoulder and whispering things like, "Don't worry, Mom, I'll take care of everything now." Even then, something felt wrong about the way he said it. There was this eager gleam in his dark eyes that didn't match his sorrowful expression. After the service, people came back to our house, the colonial, that Harold and I had restored together, room by room, over 20 years. Marcus pulled me aside in the kitchen while Emma was showing our guests Harold's old photo albums in the living room. "Mom, we need to talk about practical matters," he said, closing the kitchen door. At 42, Marcus has always been handsome. Tall, like Harold, but with my stubborn chin. I know this is hard, but you can't manage this big house alone. And the finances, Dad wasn't exactly organized with his paperwork. I almost laughed. Harold had been meticulous about our finances, every receipt filed, every investment tracked in his neat handwriting. But I just nodded and said, "I appreciate your concern, Marcus. I've been thinking," he continued, loosening his tie. "You should move into a nice assisted living place. I found one called Golden Years Manor. It's only 20 minutes from my house in Hartford. You'd have community, activities, medical care right there." "That's thoughtful, but I'm quite capable of—" "Mom," he interrupted. "You're 79. Be realistic." I'm actually 69, but I let that slide. Marcus has never been good with details that don't benefit him directly. I know what you're thinking. Maybe Marcus was just worried about his elderly mother. Well, stick with me, because what happens next will show you exactly why his concern was really about dollar signs. And trust me, the plan I was already forming in the back of my mind would expose not just his greed, but something even worse. How little he actually knew about the woman who raised him. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying this story of family betrayal. The next morning, I sat at Harold's old oak desk in our study, Surrounded by the financial documents Marcus claimed didn't exist, Harold had been more than organized. He'd been brilliant, hidden in a safety deposit box at Millbrook Savings, and Trust was documentation for investments Marcus had never even heard of. Harold and I had been quiet millionaires. Beyond our modest house and his pension, we'd built a portfolio of rental properties, municipal bonds, and blue-chip stocks worth $2.3 million. Harold had insisted on keeping it secret, even from Marcus, because he'd seen how money had destroyed his own brother's family. If Marcus ever needs it, Alice, he'll get it when we're both gone. Harold had told me. But not before. He needs to build his own character first. Harold had also set up something called a revocable living trust, with me as the sole trustee. Everything was in my control, legally and completely. Marcus would inherit eventually, but only when I decided he was ready, or when I died. This wasn't some old-fashioned will that could be contested. This was airtight. As I reviewed the documents, my phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Mom, I'm coming over this afternoon with someone I want you to meet. Her name is Diane Rothschild. She's an estate planning lawyer, just some routine paperwork, to make sure everything's in order. Don't worry about understanding it all. Don't worry about understanding it all." This from the son whose college tuition I'd paid, whose business startup I'd secretly helped fund through Harold's golf money. I called our family attorney, Robert Chen, whom Harold and I had worked with for 15 years. "Robert, I need to see you tomorrow, and I think I'm going to need your help with something. Creative? Oh. If only I had known what I was about to discover about Marcus's true intentions. The plan I was forming would expose not just his greed, but something even worse. How he'd been manipulating my relationship with Emma for months. Make sure you're subscribed because this story is about to take a turn that will leave you speechless. Marcus arrived that afternoon with Diane Rothschild, a sharp-dressed woman in her 50s with calculating eyes and a briefcase full of documents. They sat on my floral sofa like they owned the place, while I served tea from Harold's mother's. "China set, Mrs. Wellington," Diane began. "Marcus has explained your situation. Losing a spouse is incredibly difficult, and the financial responsibilities can feel overwhelming. Actually, I've been managing our finances quite well," I said. Calmly, Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "Mom, you don't need to pretend. I know Dad handled all the money stuff." Diane pulled out a thick contract. "What we're proposing is a simple power of attorney arrangement. Marcus would handle all the complicated financial decisions. Paying bills, managing investments, that sort of thing. You'd still live comfortably, but without the stress." I flipped through the pages, noting clauses that would give Marcus control over everything. The house, bank accounts, even my ability to make medical decisions. This seems quite comprehensive. "We just want to make sure you're protected," Marcus said, but his leg was bouncing with nervous energy. "I'll need time to review this with my own attorney," I said. Marcus's mask slipped for just a moment. "Mom, don't you trust me? I'm your son. Why do you need another lawyer when Diane's right here?" "Because I'm not as helpless as you think I am, Marcus." That evening, Emma called. My granddaughter usually chattered about school, her friends, her latest art project. Instead, she sounded distant. "Grandma Alice, Dad says you might be moving to a retirement home soon. Your father's getting ahead of himself, sweetheart," he also said. "He said you're not handling Grandpa's death well, that you're getting confused about money and stuff." My blood went cold. "Emma, do I seem confused? To you?" "No," she said quietly. "But Dad says sometimes old people don't realize when they're getting confused. He said I shouldn't worry you with visits right now, because you need to focus on getting better. After I hung up, I sat in Harold's recliner and cried. Not from grief, but from rage. Marcus wasn't just trying to steal my money. He was poisoning my relationship with my granddaughter, the one person who'd kept me sane through Harold's illness. What I did next was risky. Some might even call it ruthless, but sometimes you have to fight fire with fire to protect what matters most. And the trap I was about to set would reveal Marcus's true character in ways I never could have imagined. If you're loving this story of grandmother's revenge, hit that like button to show your support. The next morning, I met with Robert Chen at his law office downtown. Robert had handled our real estate deals and Harold's business affairs for years, so he knew exactly how solid our finances were. Alice, what Marcus is trying to do is financial elder abuse, Robert said after reviewing Diane's contract. This power of attorney would give him complete control over your assets. You'd essentially become his dependent. I had a feeling, so here's what I want to do. I laid out my plan. Robert's eyes widened, then he started to smile. Alice, that's absolutely diabolical and completely legal. We spent the next 3 hours creating what I called the bait. Robert drew up a fake will and a fake asset disclosure statement. According to these documents, Harold had hidden assets worth $4.2 million in a secret account at a private bank in Switzerland. The fake will showed that everything would go to Marcus upon my death, but only if he could prove he'd cared for his mother with devotion during her final years. The documents looked completely legitimate, complete with official stamps and Harold's forged signature. We even included a fake letter from Harold, supposedly written before his death, explaining how he'd hidden the Swiss account from me too. Spare Alice the burden of managing such wealth? The genius part. The documents mentioned that the account would be frozen if anyone tried to access it before my death, unless I was declared mentally incompetent, in which case Marcus could claim it as my legal guardian. Robert sealed everything in an envelope, marked Confidential, H. Wellington Final Instructions, and gave it to me. Leave this somewhere Marcus will find it when he's snooping through Harold's papers. And Alice, you might want to consider installing some security cameras. That afternoon, I called Marcus. I've been thinking about what you said yesterday. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm not handling things as well as I thought. Why don't you come over tomorrow and help me sort through your father's desk? There might be some papers I missed. I could practically hear him salivating through the phone. I hid in Harold's study behind the tall bookshelf, with my phone set to record. I'd placed the fake documents in Harold's desk drawer, slightly visible. Beneath some old tax returns, Marcus arrived with Diane again, supposedly to help organize Dad's paperwork. Within 20 minutes, I watched my own son, Jimmy, the lock on Harold's desk drawer, while Diane stood lookout. Jesus Christ, Marcus whispered when he found the fake envelope. Diane, look at this. They read through everything twice. I watched Marcus's face transform from shock to greedy excitement to cold calculation. 4.2 million. He breathed. No wonder the old man always acted like money was tight. And look here. Diane pointed to the mental competency clause. We don't have to wait for her to die. We just need to prove she's not mentally fit to handle her affairs. That shouldn't be hard, Marcus said. She's already showing signs of confusion. I can get Emma to testify about her grandmother's weird behavior. Kids make convincing witnesses. My heart shattered. Not only was Marcus planning to steal from me, he was going to drag Emma into it. What about the power of attorney? Diane asked. Forget that small-time stuff. If we can get her declared incompetent, I get everything. The house, this Swiss account, control of her medical care. I can put her in the cheapest facility I can find and pocket the difference. They photographed the fake documents with their phones and carefully returned everything to the drawer. The next day, Emma called me, crying, "Grandma, Dad wants me to write a letter to some court people. He says you've been acting strange and forgetting things, and I need to tell them about it to protect you. But, Grandma, you haven't been acting strange. I don't want to lie." "Oh, sweetheart," I said, my voice breaking. "Don't write anything you don't believe. And Emma, would you like to spend this weekend with me? I'd love the company. Dad says I can't visit anymore because you're too sick." That night, I called my sister Margaret in Boston. She's 2 years older than me and has dealt with her own share of family drama. "Maggie, I need you to call Marcus and ask him about my health. Tell him you're worried about me." The next evening, Margaret called me back, furious. "Alice, he spent 20 minutes telling me how you've been calling him, in the middle of the night, confused and frightened. He says you keep forgetting Harold is dead and asking when he's coming home. He even said you've been leaving the stove on and forgetting to eat." None of it was true, of course, but Marcus was building his case. Lie, ladies. What happened next broke my heart in ways I didn't think were possible. Just when I thought I knew how low Marcus would sink, he found a way to go even lower, and he dragged someone I loved into it. If you have grandchildren you do anything to protect, you're going to want to hear this next part. Please share this story with someone who needs to hear about standing up to family bullies. Robert Chen called me on a Thursday morning. "Alice, Marcus just filed a petition to have you declared mentally incompetent. The hearing is scheduled for next Monday. We need to move fast." That weekend, I put the final phase of my plan into action. I called Marcus and used my most fragile, confused voice. "Marcus, dear, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I found some papers in Harold's desk that I don't understand. Something about Switzerland? Could you come over and explain them to me? He practically broke the speed limit getting to my house." "Don't worry, Mom," he said, all fake concern and gentle pats on the hand. "These look like complicated investment documents. Why don't you let me hold on to them for safekeeping?" "Oh, would you? That would be such a relief. I've been so confused lately." He left with photocopies of the fake documents, convinced he'd struck gold. Monday morning arrived gray and rainy. The competency hearing was held in Judge Patricia Morrison's courtroom at the Millbrook County Courthouse. I arrived wearing my best navy dress, pearl earrings, and the silver hairpins Harold had given me for our 40th anniversary. I looked every inch the dignified widow. Marcus sat with Diane and 2 witnesses he'd brought, Emma, who looked miserable, and Mrs. Patterson, our nosy neighbor who'd been happy to gossip about the poor, confused widow next door. Judge Morrison was a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and no patience for nonsense. "Mr. Wellington, you're petitioning to have your mother declared mentally incompetent. Please present your evidence." Marcus stood up confidently. "Your Honor, my mother has been exhibiting clear signs of dementia since my father's death. She's confused about finances, forgets basic daily tasks, and has been making irrational decisions about her estate." He presented his evidence, the fake documents, claiming I'd been hiding millions from him and was now too confused to manage it properly. Judge Morrison examined the papers carefully. "These documents suggest your mother has access to significant assets, Mr. Wellington. How did you obtain these confidential financial records?" Marcus's face went pale. She showed them to me. She was confused about what they meant." "I see. And Mrs. Wellington, did you show these documents to your son? I stood up slowly, using my cane for effect. Your Honor, I did not show my son those documents. He took them from my deceased husband's locked desk without my permission. The courtroom went completely silent. Furthermore, Your Honor, I continued, suddenly standing straighter and speaking with perfect clarity, those documents are completely fabricated. My son has been attempting to manipulate me into signing over power of attorney, has been spreading lies about my mental state to family members, and has even involved my 16-year-old granddaughters in his scheme to steal my inheritance. I turned to Robert Chen, who handed me a thick folder. Your Honor, I'd like to present evidence of my actual mental competency, including recent medical examinations, cognitive tests, and detailed financial records showing that I've been managing my late husband's estate with complete accuracy for the past 6 months. Marcus jumped up. She's lying! Look at those Swiss bank documents! Judge Morrison's voice turned ice cold. Mr. Wellington, are you admitting that you broke into your mother's private papers to obtain what you believed were legitimate financial documents, and then attempted to use them to have her declared incompetent? That's not... She's manipulating you. Old people can be cunning when they're losing their minds. Emma burst into tears. Dad, stop it! Grandma's not crazy. You made me lie. Judge Morrison dismissed Marcus's petition immediately and ordered an investigation into possible elder abuse charges. But I wasn't done yet. As we left the courthouse, I asked Robert to call Marcus and Diane to his office. Tell them I want to discuss a settlement. An hour later, we all sat in Robert's conference room. Marcus looked like he'd aged 5 years in one morning. Diane kept checking her phone, probably looking for an exit strategy. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice calm but deadly serious. Marcus, you will apologize to Emma for forcing her to lie. You will call Margaret, your aunts, and anyone else you've been spreading rumors to, and you will tell them the truth about my mental health. You will sign a document agreeing never to contest my actual will or attempt to gain control of my finances again. And if I don't? Marcus asked sullenly. Then Robert will file elder abuse charges against you, and Diane will lose her law license for helping you commit fraud. I have recordings of both of you planning to steal from me and discussing how to put me in the cheapest facility you can find. I believe those were your exact words. Marcus went white. You recorded us? I'm old, Marcus, not stupid. You forgot that I helped your father build his business from nothing. You think I don't know how to protect myself from people who want to take advantage of me? Diane signed first, then Marcus, his hand shaking. There's one more thing, I said. Emma will be spending weekends with me again. No restrictions, no supervision, no lies about my mental health. And Marcus, I want you to think very carefully about the kind of man you've become. Your father would be ashamed. Emma threw her arms around me, sobbing apologies. Grandma, I'm so sorry. I knew something was wrong, but Dad said, shh, sweetheart, you did nothing wrong. You're 16. It's not your job to figure out when adults are lying to you. 3 months later, Emma and I are closer than ever. She comes over every weekend, and we cook Harold's favorite recipes together. She's teaching me to use Instagram, and I'm teaching her to knit. Marcus is learning to live on his teacher's salary without expecting handouts from his parents. He sends awkward text messages sometimes, trying to rebuild our relationship. Maybe someday we'll get there. But trust, once broken by greed, takes years to repair. As for the inheritance, My real will leaves everything to Emma when she turns 25, with Marcus as trustee only if he can prove he's learned the value of family over money. There's also a college fund for Emma and provisions for Marcus's retirement. Because, despite everything, he's still my son. But the most valuable thing I'm leaving Emma isn't money. It's the knowledge that being underestimated can be your greatest weapon, and that love, real love, never comes with conditions or contracts. Harold always said that wisdom comes from surviving what you thought would destroy you. He was right. I survived my son's betrayal, and I learned something important. I'm stronger than anyone, including myself, ever gave me credit for. Sometimes, the people who think they know you best are the ones who know you least. Marcus thought he was dealing with a confused old widow. Instead, he discovered he was tangling with a woman who had spent 45 years building a life, managing money, and protecting her family. They blocked my phone, thinking they could silence me. Instead, I blocked their future and secured mine if you've ever been underestimated because of your age, or had family members try to take advantage of you. Please share your story in the comments below. Sometimes the best revenge is simply proving people wrong about who you really are. And if you enjoyed this story about a grandmother who fought back, please subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell. We share stories of strong women who refuse to be victims every week. Thank you for listening to my story. Remember, wisdom beats greed every time.